All right, so after watching a pretty brilliant video on this issue, I'm going to test mine to see if this actually happens. One of the things that we can see is that I've got a couple of different grip modules. Here's a Wilson Combat grip module, standard M18 grip module, Brower M1811 grip module, which I'm using right now. So our firearm is clear. Obviously, there's no magazines here. I do have an empty magazine if we want to try so that you can see, you know, but what we have is just, my room is kind of quiet and you can hear the click. So that's really all we're going to go for right now, because if this is a trigger actuated issue, then you'll hear the click. We don't have to burst a primer off. And but I do have an empty magazine. There is no, I have live ammunition on the table. I'm going to remove it. We're going to have no live ammunition anywhere in our working area. And we're going to safety check just because I had live ammunition in my hand. Let's go ahead and safety check. Just be anal retentive about it. All right. So here's what we're going to do with this gun. I think that the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to try to see if we can replicate what he had shown. So in order to look at our M18 issue, one of the things that he was showing was that a little bit of pressure on his trigger, plus the up and down motion of the slide with these sloppy tolerances that the gun has, can cause this to go off. Now, I have a Brower M1811, which is a very expensive lower grip frame. So obviously what we have, and I also have, this is a Legion trigger. I believe you also see this on the AXG. So this is not the curved one, but I at least want to see if we can manipulate this to where the motion of the slide can cause this issue. Now, I'm not going to stick a pin in like he did, although I suppose I could. One of the things, though, that we're going to look at while we're messing with this is the fact that if there is a issue that can come up through the tolerances stacking and eventually cause something so slippery as to cause the firing pin to fire, we want to see if we can repeat that. So again, we're going to be freaky about always doing this. So I'm going to put some pressure on this trigger. Here you can see that I'm putting pressure, and then there it seems to break, right? So putting pressure and it breaks pretty consistently. So it didn't take actually much to reset this trigger. So, but let's just see, you know, if we can get it to, you know, to cause this issue. So let's just for science. All right. I can put pressure onto it to this point, but if I put any more, it'll break. Okay, I think that that mark is in a good place. So now that I've got the mark in this place, we know where I have to go. So I'm going to put it right here. Did you hear that? So if the trigger is pushed up to its limit, I want you to listen. Okay, let's push it here. Let's do it this way. All right, can you see? Okay, didn't do it that time. Okay, so on that time I could feel it, but I'm pushing on this trigger almost to the point where it's about to break, and then I'm squeezing on here. Okay. Okay, are you seeing this? Okay. And I'm not doing, I promise you I'm not adding extra pressure. I'm just giving even, consistent pressure. I'm sure I could repeat this with a tool or something like that, but I want you to get your gun out and check it. You see how I've got this little mark here? And I'm not jerking it much. Okay, so right now, okay, I'm going to put a little bit more so it doesn't do it every time. Okay, so what we've got though is that if I consistently put a certain amount of pressure on here, eventually playing with this slide will, that was me that time. All right, so if anything, this is just showing, all right, I just did it there. I'm pushing that. Okay, So I'm consistently getting it to do it, but I'm having a hard time doing it without... I know I'm putting my hand in front of the muzzle. This is a clear firearm, and I showed you 100 times. So I'm doing this for illustrative purposes. Don't ever put your hand in front of a firearm, in front of a muzzle, okay? Just PSA. But I'm going to do it just for the purposes of this exact video, because I want it to be on the table and be flat as I'm doing this. All right. So really all I'm doing is I'm pushing the trigger back to a point where it's almost before it breaks, and then going up and down on the slide is causing it to break the trigger. So obviously you can see here there is some tolerances. So I want you to look and see if you think your gun is going to do this. Pull it back until it's almost about to fire. Boom. That's concerning. So we know exactly is that if you are, let's say, sticking this into a safety, or excuse me, into a holster, there are holsters that clip into the trigger. And so let's just say though that if they're clipping in here and then you're having some force that's pushing your trigger back, even if lightly because of this, and you may have an issue where it wouldn't be enough to break the trigger on its own, but with the combination of some slide manipulation or rubbing or something like that. I'm trying not to make sure that I'm jerking it this way to increase the pressure. I'm only showing you this because this is an unscientific way of looking at it. I put this mark here. Okay. And again, if you think that I'm just doing this to generate views or whatever, and that you think that I'm adding more pressure or whatever, like I said, I'm just showing you what I just learned. Okay, so it's somewhere right in that level. And this is kind of a tune trigger. This gun is heavily modified. Yours may not be nearly remotely as modified. I've got some stuff in here that is... I've changed out some basic things. I've got the Go Gun gas pedal. I've also changed from the original system here to the DPM. Now, but here's what we're going to do now. We're going to see if I can make this. Well, let's try see if I can do it with the magazine. Let's see if I can do it with a magazine in, if that means anything. Okay. So we're going to pull it back to here. Same thing. Okay, that was a good example of it right there too. Push it right back to that line that I made on the trigger guard. Yep, it was right before. Sorry, I'm going too fast. I didn't like that one. I think that was more me. Okay, that one I was able to get to do it. All right, so it'll do it with a magazine. So it's not something that has to do with a magazine in this case. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything the correct way. Let's go ahead and take our pistol down here. Let's do that off camera for a second because I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything that I'm not supposed to be doing according to the rules of YouTube. All right, now we're going to go ahead and remove this. I'm going to put this back together with a factory as well, the factory piece. So obviously, let's get our fire control unit out. Make sure that we're not unsafe. All right, so there's our fire control unit. This is the Brower grip safety. So let's go ahead and just use the one from SIG. Now, this was a factory M18, but now this is the one that everyone's talking about. So let's see if there's something we can do. Changing these grips out, it's not as easy as they made it seem. It's easy. I'll say that. It is easy. But it's not as easy because you sometimes have to get some stuff lined up. So let's go ahead and that's an original trigger. I'm not going to mess with that because that takes so long to get in and out. But I will use this takedown lever. All right. All right, here we go. Sometimes get this thing lined up is a real pain, but we're going to do it. All right. All right. So now this is the, all right, empty magazine, clear firearm. Don't ever mess around with this. This is a thing that these do. Okay. So let's do this again. All right. Let's draw again with our marker. So I have a feeling we're right about there. Okay. So I'm going to have it right before this line. You can kind of see. Oh my gosh. Right before this line. All right, so if you're holding this trigger right before it breaks, you can squeeze the gun and you can hear it. So I am holding it here. I'm touching. So I know I can't do it this way. Maybe I can do it this way. I think it was right about there. Okay. So I'm going to hold it right before. Did you see that? Oh my gosh. That was a great shot. All right. So let's hold it right before the trigger's going to break. We're not doing it this time. All right. So it won't do it right that exact time. But let's try again. Let's try. All right. It's hard because here's the thing is that I actually have to stack it pretty hard to where it's just about to go off. There it was. That was from me touching it. Okay, that was from me touching it again. Okay, it's not happening right now. So it doesn't do it every time. Okay, that time I got it to do it. All right, so now let's do it one more time. We're going to do it with a Wilson Combat. So we're going to put this back. We're going to do this precarious thing here. Oh, shoot. Okay. Obviously, we're going to do our normal takedown procedure. We're going to pop this thing out, which is the factory thing is annoying because that's why I went with the Go Gun. Oh, well, yeah. All right, now this Wilson Combat doesn't have a magazine release in it, but I think that we're not going to have it in to see. But I want to thank that original poster, and I'm going to post to his. I'm not trying to take any of his viewers. I just want to show that with a modified M18. You could have this issue. And so one of the issues that comes up is that we're doing something called tolerance stacking, which means one piece is, can only be 1,000th or so off. Well, okay, then that means that piece can get through QC. And if it's 1,000th off, then, whatever, it's fine. And it passes inspection. But then the next piece may not get, or they put through QC. And then that piece is only a little bit off. And then as a result, there we go. Those things end up multiplying and multiplying. So 1,000th here, and then 1,000th here, and then 1,000th here, and then 1,000th here. All right. So, oh yeah, I don't. My magazine release isn't working. So okay. But let's just make sure that it's fully functional. Okay, I'm holding it. All right, so this is fully functional, even though it doesn't have a magazine release. We're going to try it now with the Wilson Combat. You can hear this. In the back, it's not as much, but it's more than the Brower. So, all right. So let's do it. Let's do this again with our marker. All right, I think that we're about right here. And let's do it on the other side. I'm going to pull back here. Okay, so I've got a couple of marks here with my marker. And so now what we're going to do is pull it till it's just about to break. All right, I've got a feel for it now. Oh my gosh. You seeing this? So I put it right before, and then I squeeze there it is. All right, you guys, this may be the issue. This may be the issue with the SIG 320 is that on some level, this trigger is getting pulled, and it's pulling up against its little wall. because it's sort of a two-stage trigger. This trigger does go back, and then it hits a soft wall. It doesn't hit a hard wall. It's very soft. And then it squishes into its final trigger position. So what we've got here is I'm going to hold it to this very point right here. And okay, let's do it from this side, just so that you know I'm not faking this or trying to farm views. We're going to pull this back to where it's almost at that line. All right. There it is, my friends. This is also a very, very good condition M18. This thing has had about 1,000, maybe 2,000 rounds through it. So now what we've done is that we've shown conclusively that with these 3 grips, I can reproduce this. So for the very first time, one of the things that we're finding is that at least with some of these stock parts, I can reproduce an issue, and I can do it almost every time. Now, this is only me getting the striker to fire. I didn't strike a primer. I didn't do any of that. So, you know, that other gentleman did do a primer strike with his just to see if it would go off. And so that is a difference between what I'm doing here and you know, but here's what I want to show you, at least for the guys that have a Brower like me. The Brower is one of the reasons why I got this gun. I'm running the Go Gun gas pedal takedown lever, or which is something I like to use just because. I'm also running this DPM systems. So there are some modifications to this pistol that are not the same things you'd have on your pistol, and I understand that. 320s do this weird thing where you have to have the slide back after you put the slide on. For the first time, the magazine won't go in unless the slide's back. All right, so let's do this one more time. Remember, we're remaining clear here. Okay, but I do want you to see that this Brower here has less up and down chatter or play. Now, that may be just because the tolerances are tighter. The factory and the Wilson combat pieces did have substantially more play. So is it possible that the factory or the Wilson combat units might exacerbate this issue over the Brower? It is entirely possible. So that is something that I want people to look at. I'm not going to do a whole lot of tests to see if there's something with this takedown lever or not. Is it possible, though? Here's the issue. If you have a takedown lever that is a little looser, maybe that'll cause a problem. You know what? Actually, since we're all here today and because we have the time, let's go ahead and see if this takedown lever, you know, does this. Or makes this issue worse, because this takedown lever is nice and tight. This is one by Go Gun. So now let's try this takedown lever, which is a factory one, and see if the tolerances of the takedown lever can cause some issues. Ooh, that's my light. All right. All right, so let's do this. Let's do this again. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We're doing this in real time, folks. So I'm going to pull this to that same level. I just got it to do it more. You guys, this is amazing. Oh. All right, we're going to pull this back. Okay, here's what I think. I think that this takedown lever could have an issue. So perhaps tightening up your takedown lever could be an issue. In the tighter Brower grip with this factory takedown lever, we may be seeing one of the issues. So I think that the looseness of the slide is an issue, but I believe that perhaps if you have a tighter slide and you have a takedown lever that is a little bit tighter and a little bit harder to push in, you may be in a position to where you may actually have a little bit easier time avoiding this issue. So let's make sure everything's clear and safe again. Let's pull it back to here. All right, so I know that we're doing this in real time, but here's what I want everyone to see. Hold it to here. Okay. Well, perhaps I was wrong. I don't know. But maybe there is something to that. Is that if you're pulling this trigger all the way almost to its bottom and then you squeeze the slide, that is, I'm confirming right now that that is something you can absolutely do. So I think that the issue is slightly exacerbated on the stock and on the Wilson Combat slides, but we now know for a fact that if you hold the trigger against its wall and manipulate the slide or play with it, it is possible to use that to make the slide, or to make the striker. But it doesn't do it every time. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so it's not happening at this exact moment. There it is. I have to hold it at just the right, perfect place. That was probably me. So it feels like if it's just before the trigger is going to break.